So, question one, between work and home, why does it feel like there's no room for my ambitions? So, let's start with the nervous system. So, we our brains prioritize safety and they want to minimize discomfort. And ambition is by definition uncomfortable. So we're always going to be running up against that, no matter what else is at play. But because this question talks about between work and home, we know there's a lot more at play here, right? There's the I have to be a good, right? Fill in the blank. I have to be a good parent, partner, leader, neighbor, sister, mother, whatever it is, right? And so that leads to overwhelm and can get us into a freeze response where we just feel like we don't know what direction to go in and we're just paralyzed in this spot. And what's going on when you're trying to solve for work and home and work and home and work and home is that your brain senses danger and it's constantly trying to solve for a variable that doesn't exist. Our brain thinks maybe there's this variable where work and home can be balanced and will never be just uncomfortable and everything will work out fine. And it's trying to solve for this variable all the time. Well, if I just did this, right? And that's exhausting in our brains to have our nervous system kind of running the show that way because we are in this constant state of activation where the amygdala, which regulates our nervous system, is running the show and not our prefrontal cortex, the part of our brain that's responsible for reasoning, emotional regulation, and planning, the part of our brain that makes us human. There doesn't, when we get stuck between these two things and we're in a constant state of activation and we're not using the prefrontal cortex, then it feels like life is happening to us instead of us directing the sort of journey of our lives. So what eventually happens is we're just only able to focus on what's right in front of us. And we can't do that future planning. So that's part of what we really want to do is calm the nervous system, just understand what's going on. That's the most important takeaway probably from this answering this question today. So what role does our socialization play into it? Well, ambition isn't celebrated and validated like self-sacrifice are, particularly for people socialized as women, right? We don't get the there's not a bevy of movies out there that are like, she went to college and then she bought her own place and now she has this awesome career and travels the world, right? We don't get that story. Often something like that's actually used as a cautionary tale, right? Oh, the career girl who ended up the childless cat lady, right? That's sort of the where there's it's explicit and implicit, and it comes in all of these different ways at us that ambition in women is not celebrated. So there's also this deeply ingrained belief that we have to earn the right to prioritize our ambitions, as if those don't just come with being a human, right? And then there's the narrative of it's selfish. I should be grateful for what I have. I'm a terrible person that I want more. I have clients tell me this all the time. But I have a great husband. I love my kids. My career's good. I should just be happy with what I have. I hear this so much. And part of it is just you can be grateful for everything that you have and still want more. There's nothing inherently wrong with you. There's just that checklist, what I'm going to call in this little session, the patriarchal checklist in a heteronormative world, right? You get married, you have kids, you go to college, you get married, you have kids, you buy the house, right? And you do all those things and you think, oh, this is the life's list to make me happy. And then you get all the things and you're like, I thought this would feel differently, right? Because what wasn't on the checklist was continuous growth and ambition, right? If we just added that to the checklist, I think there would be a little bit less guilt around this. So, and then socialize to put our own needs last, even when everyone else's needs are met. So I definitely have a subset of my clients who are the empty nesters, who are I've never for the past 20 years considered what I want. It hasn't mattered. It would be silly, right? And they're getting to reacquainted with themselves after 20 years of what do I like? What do I not like? What do I want? What do I not want? Right? Because we haven't been able to ask those questions of ourselves in so long, right? So, I mean, there's a reason that there's a whole thing called the gray divorce, right? That's doubled since the 1990s. And this is the empty nesters, right? Because all of a sudden it's oh, when I start thinking about what I want for the next 30, 40, 50 years of my life, after my children are grown and out, like it doesn't include this person that I built this family and did that chapter of my life with. So what are the feelings that are coming in? The feelings that are going to come in from these belief systems, right, are a persistent feeling of not enough. So there's like this double whammy combo of like guilt that you're not doing enough for others and shame that you're not living up to your own potential. Like that is absurd. That is absurd that we're actually feeling that, but I see it so much. Like, oh, there's more I could be doing, but like, even though I'm giving everything I have to someone else, now I'm going to make myself feel crappy that giving everything to everyone else, I'm not living up to my potential, right? Like there shouldn't be any shame around that. There should be anger, right? And then there's the guilt that you're not satisfied with the life that you have, right? Frustration and resentment on what's standing in your way, right? Which often is the people that you love, right? Where you're like, well, if I could just get out from underneath pickup and drop off every day, maybe I would have time to go to Pilates, right? Or the idea that your ambitions are irresponsible or indulgent, that the things that you want, that the things that you secretly dream of but don't dare try to go after will somehow make you less responsible or less caring or somehow indulgent in a way that feels bad. So let's talk about why this makes total sense. So of course, we put our needs on the back burner when we receive constant reinforcement that and validation for putting other people's needs ahead of our own, right? Of course, we overcommit to everyone else's goals, thinking that our time's just going to come later, that not right now, except that like we have to, later is when we pick, right? When our needs matter is when we decide that they matter and we make a plan to get them in there. Of course, we shrink away from dreaming and planning when we're just trying to get to the end of the day without letting anyone else down, right? That's when the amygdala is running the show and we're not engaging the prefrontal cortex. And of course, we avoid long-term planning when it feels like we're getting like shocked by like a live wire of like, we're selfish and ungrateful, right? It's like this little shame electric shock every time we consider wanting more, and then we shame ourselves and tell ourselves we're ungrateful or that we're selfish, right? Like you can't get out of that, but that's the sort of thing, this live wire that's surrounding you. And to get to your dream, you have to keep running up against this shame and getting shocked. Like of course you're not going to want to do it, right? Okay, so what do we do? The things that are going to happen, right? This is how we get stuck and stifled. This is how we get this narrative of being not enough. We're not doing enough. We're not giving enough. We're not being enough. The not enoughness will lead you to burnout. Talk to my clients about this. Like it will absolutely lead you to burnout. And then resentment, right, also leads you to burnout and to like degraded, like relationships with the people that you love the most. So becoming a supporting character in your own narrative because you're so busy making sure that everyone else is on their way to getting their dreams. And the thing to remember here is this just is not a zero-sum game. And some of the tips that I'm going to give you in a second are really helpful here. We hide behind our daily routines to avoid the shame of wanting more and the discomfort of growth or going after our dreams. And then the long-term thing, if we don't sort this out, is that we risk internalizing the limiting beliefs about the feasibility of our ambitions. If we keep telling ourselves the same story, now it's not the right time, I'm not ready, this isn't, after like such and such thing happens, then I'll go for it, right? We start believing that narrative that our brain is giving us, right? Because if we believe now's not the right time, we're going to keep finding evidence for that, right? So this is the one that, let me come back to that in a second. Okay, so the challenge, here's what we do, right? We're going to try some really powerful and statements to like give ourselves permission to be a full, whole human. So Try something like, I can facilitate the realization of everybody's dreams and my own. I can prioritize myself and show up for the ones that I love. I can be grateful for everything I have and want more. Like, write that one down. There's no thing that's like, oh, there's just something. I have enough. I have all the things. And so I'm just not allowed to want more. It makes me a terrible person. Like, I can be grateful for everything I have and want more. So this is the piece where, like, if this is you, if this is where you feel stuck or stifled or at a crossroads, like, hire a coach. It doesn't have to be me, but this is something that a coach is going to create space. It's going to like give you the ability to think about what you want, to understand who you are in this moment, to understand how to make that happen, how to realize your dreams and not wait for everyone else's to be realized before you can have your things. They'll help you like keep your mind straight, right? You'll be able to set and maintain boundaries, like break down your goal into bite-sized pieces so it works within your schedule that's already really probably full, right? You can learn to say no. You can process the guilt and shame that's going to come up around having ambition, and it's going to shift your belief system about yourself. So use these and statements, but if it's possible for you, and this is where you are, hire a coach. This is what coaches do best, is get you from the place that you're stuck to well on your way to the place that you want to go.